we talked about globalization. Okay, we talked about how media organizations, or what we call them as media conglomerates, are becoming really, really big. Okay, so what is the result, or what is the implication? Okay, now that they are very big, what is the effect of them being very big? These big media companies. We discussed, for example, Disney or Google. What do you think is the impact?
They can control.
They can control, they can monopolize. Okay, look at Google yesterday. It went down for less than an hour. Okay, but what is the impact? Did it create fear? Yes. Why were we fearful? Because your assignments were there, right? Because you did your assignment using Google, you place everything in Google Drive, okay? Almost, right? Everything is kept with Google. So this is what we mean by dependence, all right? Okay, that our life has become dependent on these big companies, okay? So we've talked about Google and how big they are, Disney, okay, and then we talk about, okay, Facebook, for example. How big is Facebook? Okay, so all of you are not on Facebook most of the time because your generation feels Facebook is quite dated, isn't it, right? But Facebook also owns what? Which company does Facebook owns? What does Facebook own?
WhatsApp,
WhatsApp and
Instagram.
Instagram. And all these platforms, you are using it every day, isn't it, right?
Yes.
WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, but they are actually the same company. Okay, so this is the implication, especially among smaller countries like us. Okay, it means what? It means even though we are independent, we are no longer under colonial rule, we are still not independent. We are very much dependent on other countries, especially Western American country. Can you understand? All right. Although, okay, we have discussed, for example, China has been able to break away a little bit, especially with regards to new technologies. Okay, they no longer allow Google, okay, to come into their country. But do you have Hollywood movie in your countries? You don't watch Marvel, you don't have Disney Princess in China? I'm pretty sure you have. Yes, you have. Why? Because China is the biggest market after global market, then there's China. So when Hollywood produces a film, okay, they usually focus on the Chinese market. So culturally, okay, it talks about culture, okay, in China, okay, they are still much also under the control of American media. Can you understand? All right. Although they can somewhat try, okay, to be independent in terms of economy, but in terms of culture, okay, still very much dependent. Can you follow so far? So today we're going to focus on this cultural part. You already understand that media is global, okay, and you already understand what we mean by globalization, okay. So global companies, not just media companies, okay, if you can see most companies today, they want to be global. Uniqlo is a global company. H&M is a global company, okay. Why is it global? Because you can feel its presence all over the world and it becomes every part of everybody's everyday life, okay. But we are focusing more on the media, okay. So media's impact on culture is much more significant, okay. In the first few topics, we've already discussed this relationship between media and culture. Okay, and culture is the most important term because culture is actually what? It is our everyday life, our everyday experiences. Okay, so today we're going to look at this relationship from the perspective of cultural imperialism. Okay, so you can see this. Okay, you have your own slides. Let me share. Okay, here, cultural imperialism. So you have this. Can you see it now? Right? This is probably Colonel Sanders. You know Colonel Sanders? Who's Colonel Sanders? Who's Colonel Sanders? You know?
Don't know, madam.
You don't know Colonel Sanders? Oh, okay, never mind. You don't know Colonel Sanders, but I'm sure you have eaten his chicken. Colonel Sanders is the Atto
KFC.
from KFC, Kentucky
Yes,
Fried
yes.
Chicken. Okay, all right. Of course, this is not actually Colonel Sanders, but he looks something like this. All right. Today, you can see, all right, they hardly use the photo of the old man. Right, KFC. Okay. In the old days, when I was younger, or probably you have seen it before, the KFC logo is the photo of the old man. The old white man. Have you seen it before? All right. Okay. So now, here you can see they bring their culture, they bring their Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they bring it to whom? They bring it to people like us. Okay? Now, I've already talked about this logic of the chicken, right? That we now prefer other people's chicken. We prefer Korean chicken, we prefer KFC. So this is what we mean in general by cultural imperialism. Okay, the word is imperial. You know imperial? Imperial means majestic. Okay, you prefer Texas chicken. Okay, it's all right. Kentucky, Texas, both states in America. Both American chicken. Okay, I was hoping you say you like what we call it, gombak chicken, but you don't like gombak chicken. Okay. So here we talk about imperialism. Imperials are what? Like we talk about imperial China. Okay, it used to be in China, they have all those imperials, right? They're royalties. So when you have these royalties, okay, what are their levels? They are upper class, then other people are from different class, not the same as them. Can you follow, right? The word imperialism. Okay, so the same thing here. Okay, that today we are not controlled physically, we are not imperialized. Okay, what do we mean imperialized? Although in the old days when we were under the British control, okay, we were under the British, what we call it, monarchy. That our king and queen is below the king, the queen of Britain. Okay, so here no longer are we in that state, but we are somewhat imperialized culturally. Okay, so I think you have already gotten this idea, okay, of culture being a tool of control. Okay, so we've discussed this many times. It's just that in this course, okay, in this chapter, we will try to put it into a specific perspectives. Okay, this is actually a theory. Okay, they call this idea, okay, be controlling others, okay, the theory of cultural imperialism. Okay. Now, so this is the topic we've already talked about, globalization. Okay, and later on we'll see the relationship between globalization and cultural imperialism. Okay, and cultural hegemony. But before that, okay, what is globalization? Okay, by now you should already know. Okay, it is actually a condition of interdependence across cultures, societies, nations, and regions. Okay, precipitated by an unprecedented expansion of capitalism. So globalization is the result of capitalism. So capitalism is a Western and American ideology. Okay, so if you can even put it in the context of history, you remember the Cold War, right? After World War II, Okay, we were free from physical control. But then you have two superpowers, the communists and the capitalists. They try to control the world, right? Via what? Ideology. Okay? So obviously today we can see capitalism, okay, is the successful ideology because all of us today are somewhat, okay, adopting the capitalistic ideology. Okay? Capitalism, right? So, okay, studies show, okay, how did capitalism become successful? Alright, why are we today, most of us, even China, did not choose communism, but instead we see capitalism as more appealing. Right? Okay? When we see the American culture, they are so happy, you know, the way they eat, the way they travel, the freedom that they have, it is appealing. You know what we mean appealing, right? It becomes very attractive. Okay? So many says that what we call it globalization, okay, that capitalism became successful because what? Because the Americans were successful in using the media to transmit culture. Right? I think I've discussed with you before this, right? When we talk about, okay, the media, how they portray, okay, Western culture. It's as if the white man is always smarter than us. Okay? When aliens come, when terrorists come, when there is a big, what we call it, catastrophe, who will save the world? The American man or the American government. Can you follow? So when we watch this all the time, we tend to believe. Okay? Or when we talk about, remember I asked about space travel, right? Okay? We always think, oh, the space travel is not something that others can do. It's always the Americans with NASA, okay, or the Westerners. Okay? So the capitalists or the US, for example, have been able to use the media to show us that they are better, okay, and then they are smarter. When we talk about the first person to go into space, I think I've given this example before, right? So who's the first person to go into space? Okay, mostly we don't know, but we do remember, okay, who's the first man on the moon? Also don't know.
The American,
The American,
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong. You've probably seen this image somewhere where he put the American flag on the moon and then
Yes.
he walked on the moon. Okay? Now, you probably don't care about space travel, you don't care about the moon, but you definitely have seen that image somewhere, isn't it, right?
Right.
Okay? So what does it mean? It means to you, okay, that all of this space travel, all of this, you know, very scientific, okay, hard, okay, science is not everyday people like you. It's usually done by white men in America. You get what I'm saying? Because why? Because this is the only image that you see. Have you seen an image of an Indian astronaut?
No, I don't think so.
No, but do you know that India has one of the best study in astronomy? That they have their own satellites, they have their own astronauts. But when you see images of India, what do you see?
Poverty, hunger,
Poverty, hunger,
illiteracy.
illiteracy. Can you understand what I am saying? All right? That actually the first man, okay, that went to space was not an American. Instead, it was a Russian. It was a Russian guy that first gone to space. And this was during the Cold War, you know. Cold War was they wanted to compete ideologically to show who is smarter. But Russian went first. So we can say probably that the Russians were smarter. But how come we didn't know about the Russians? Because communism did not understand the role of the media. Capitalist Americans, they were using the media. So we don't see the rest. We only see what the media shows us. Okay, can you follow? Right?
Yes, madam.
Okay. So this is, okay, when we talk about globalization, capitalism, more specifically, it is the rise of the United States. Okay. If you remember, the old colonization was the European countries, right? But now we don't really see the European countries. We mostly see the United States. Okay, so the United States, well, if you remember, okay, they were not actually part of any war. They were not in World War I. They were not in World War II. Okay, but you think, oh, but all we can think about is World War II, Pearl Harbor, right? And then America bombed Japan. Okay, so this is the only history we know. But America was not involved in the Second World War. Okay, they were only involved towards the end. They were actually testing their bombs in Japan. That's what they did. Okay, but our history or understanding of the war, okay, also see that America is a central figure. Yeah. So far, can you follow? All right. So this is the rise of the United States. Okay. So so while we was after colonization appear to be independent, but as a result we become dependent economically, socially, and politically. Okay, to other countries, especially Western countries. Okay, globalization here. Okay. So globalization then has brought back into focus the idea of Western hegemony or imperialism. Okay, can you follow? I've already discussed with you what hegemony means. Okay, now there is a new form of control and the media brings in hegemony. That means controlling us without us realizing it. Okay, so imperialism. Okay, you must understand cultural imperialism is not a new term. That means what? Okay, throughout history, humans, okay, there will always be a group of us that wants power, that wants to appear more powerful. Okay, and usually, when one country or one society is being colonized, they will definitely also be culturally imperialized. Okay, what does this mean? It means, for example, when we were under the British, all right, there has already been cultural imperialism. In what sense? For example, English schools, right? Your grandparents, okay, or your great-grandparents, okay, those who are smart, they go to English school. And when they go to English school, what do they learn? They learn English culture. And they were forced to dress, right? To wear the pinafore, to wear the shorts, to wear the English uniform. Isn't it, right? Okay. So then there will be this group of people, okay, who will always adopt, okay, the what we call it, imperialized culture. The same thing also when Islam was the biggest civilization. Alright, remember at one point, okay, we have the Abbasid, okay, the Turkish Uthmaniyah, okay. So these are all big civilizations. Were we culturally imperializing other people?
No.
We did. We did.
Oh, okay.
Because we try to show them that our way of life is better. Isn't it, right? When a Muslim civilization, okay, when they took over, for example, Asia, they came here, the Arabs came here, and they showed, okay, the Asians, so this is the best way to dress. This is the best way to live. Okay, so when we, for example, okay, Aborigines at that time, okay, adopted the Arab, the Islamic culture, this is what we also consider as cultural imperialism. Can you follow? I'm just trying to show you, okay, that this notion of cultural imperialism is not new. Actually, it's part of human. Okay, there will always be some culture that will try to overpower another culture. Okay, but traditionally it has been used via physical or via force. But today what we have is the media. Okay, and the media has enabled the process of cultural imperialism to be accelerated. Okay, like when the Muslims were in power, okay, they had to go to Asia, they had to go to India, and they had to dakwah to people. And it took a lot of time, okay, a lot of effort. But today, for the American culture to be accepted by the whole global citizen, it's not as hard. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay. So here, all right, cultural imperialism, like I said just now, was around long before the United States become world power. In its broader strokes, imperialism describes the ways that one nation asserts its power over other. So we've already discussed this just now, right? Cultural imperialism comprises the cultural aspects of imperialism. Imperialism here refers to the creation and maintenance of unequal relationship between civilizations, favoring the more powerful civilization. Now, this is the problem. Okay? Like I always say, all right? When we learn about new culture, it is not always bad. All right? There are good things that we have adopted from the Americans. Okay? Capitalism, for example, has taught us that we need to work hard and be strong economically. Okay, but the problem is with capitalism, okay, and with cultural imperialism, no matter how hard we work, we can never reach the status of the Americans. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Because all of these things that are happening will always be favoring the powerful. Can you understand? All right. Cultural imperialism will favor those in power. Okay, like what? Okay, the biggest cultural imperialism is language and education. Okay, today I am speaking with you in English. Okay, and with English has its cultural bias. Okay, and then your textbooks are in English. That your textbooks are using Western ideas. Okay, so what does it mean? It means, okay, for a person, a Malay person or an Arab person or a Chinese person, okay, to appear intelligent, I'm not saying that they are intelligent, but to appear intelligent, he or she must speak very good English. Isn't it? Right? Somehow, if someone speaks really good English, okay, and then with slangs, okay, you would think that that person is intelligent. Is this true or not true?
Yes, it's true.
It's true. Okay? But that wouldn't be fair, right? Because we are not English speakers. Okay? And that language shouldn't be the measure of intelligence. Okay? Can you understand what I'm saying or not? But because we already put that value in this English language, if I were to ask you, right, you need to vote for a president, for your country's president, or a prime minister. If a candidate cannot speak English, what would be your view of that candidate? Can a person that does not speak English become the prime minister or the president?
He's not suitable for the position.
They can, but people would say that they are not suitable. Why? Because we believe the English is the key, the medium that he has to use to obey. Can you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, madam.
Alright? But if you notice, big countries, you know the Russian, Putin, you know Vladimir Putin, he never speaks English. Okay? If you want to Google up, okay, you want to see his interviews, he refuses to speak English. Can he speak English? He can.
Of course.
Of course he can. But he refused. Why?
Because he's representing his own country and they don't speak English.
Yeah. Because he wants to show that, you know, I am a Russian, I am a power of my own, I will not speak English. Okay, who else? Okay, there are many other, okay, Russian president, okay, the Indian president, India can only speak English, not India, who else? The Japanese. You see countries, okay, who feel that they have their own measure, okay, their own power, they will not see English as a measure of success. Can you follow what I'm saying? So that's why when you go to Japan, do you see English language direction?
No.
No, I haven't been to Japan. But that's what I've learned, that the instructions are all in Japanese. Okay? But does that make them less powerful? It actually makes them more powerful. Why? Because when you go to Japan, you need to learn their culture. You need to understand their language. Are you willing? Yes, most of us are willing to go because you want to go to Japan. Okay? So this is what we mean, okay, when cultural imperialism favors the more powerful.
Madam, I have a question.
Yes, please.
But isn't that hard for visitors?
Yes, it is hard for visitors. Okay, now, of course, all right, I talked about Russia, I talked about Japan, but those are big countries. Okay, they have their own power and reputation. But smaller countries like Malaysia, most of the time, we cannot afford to not know English. Okay, like you said just now, right? It will be hard for visitors, right? If everything is in Malay. So you have a country, a small country like Malaysia, and you have a big country like Japan. Okay? So both cannot wouldn't use English. But as an everyday person, which one would you prefer to go? You would go to Japan because they are bigger and more popular. Can you get what I'm saying? So in order to compete with the bigger one, the smaller ones will usually have to follow. Can you understand what I am trying to say or not?
Yes, madam.
Here, when we talk about cultural imperialism or globalization, it is something that is quite subjective. It is not physical, but it is there. And most groups or countries or people that have no power, they are forced to adopt. Okay? Can you follow or not? Okay, like Japan, they already have their own technology. China is so big, but most of us, smaller countries, okay, still are some of underdeveloped countries. Okay, we don't have our own technology. So we have no choice. We have to take their technology. But when we take their technology, we also take their culture. Okay? But I would say that no country in the world can basically run away from the American cultural imperialism. Even in Japan, even in Russia, although they try. Okay, yes, their leaders maybe want to show some kind of power by not speaking English. Okay, but you can see among their citizens, okay, the influence of American culture. There will definitely be McDonalds in Japan, McDonald's in Russia. Okay. So here, cultural hegemony. Okay, I think we've already discussed this, okay, but I'm just going to go through again to make you believe, okay? Okay, the idea that especially capitalism, okay, enforces, okay, or overpowers us through culture. Okay, so this is the idea by Antonio Gramsci. So this is the guy, okay, he got the idea from Karl Marx. Yeah, I've already discussed this before, you know, Marxism, right? Communism, socialism.
Yes.
Okay, so Karl Marx see capitalism as a problem. Okay, Why does he see capitalism as a problem? Because Marx believed that capitalism is biased towards whom? Capitalism is biased towards whom? Who do you think capitalism prefers?
Can
What? Sorry, Nadia?
American.
They were, okay, generally capitalism were biased towards the rich and powerful.
yeah, the bourgeoisian.
Yes, okay. So you understand or not why capitalism? Because they say capitalism is all about economy, right? Okay, demand and supply. Okay, but if you see today in America, in the world that we live in, okay, basically the what we call it difference between social classes is becoming even wider. Where the rich becomes richer, the poor becomes poorer. Okay, so this is the problem that Karl Marx can see with capitalism. Okay, but of course he proposed socialism, which is another extreme where everybody is just the same. Also not right lah. Okay. Okay, but here he sees that as an issue. Okay. So that's why those who actually kind of agree with Marx, okay, they can see, oh, this is happening. And one of those guys, okay, Antonio Gramsci, he came up with the idea of hegemony. Okay, what is hegemony? What we have said just now, that he sees capitalism, the way they control us, is not physically, but it is mostly by culture. And that is cultural hegemony. Okay, what is cultural hegemony? Okay, it is that culture and the media exert such a powerful influence on society that they can actually influence, okay, workers or people to buy into a system that is not economically advantageous to them. Okay. So here, okay, if you want to figure it in terms of economics, but it is also in general. Okay, we adopt things that are not beneficial to us. Okay, but we think it is good. Like what? We discussed this before, the Hermes handbag, right? We feel it is good. We feel very satisfied when we buy big, expensive things. And then we're very happy we have credit cards. No money, got credit cards. Okay? And some people are so deceived by credit cards. But credit cards is spending the money you don't have, isn't it, right? Okay? But the idea of banking system, credit cards, okay, you know, trying to show off your wealth, those are very capitalistic ideas. Okay? So here the argument media can influence culture and politics is typified in the notion of the American dream. Okay, what here is the American dream? Right? Have you heard the term American dream before?
Yes.
Okay. What does it mean? What do you understand of it, Rata?
American dream is about living in America, having good income, living in the wealthy suburbs, having a house, kids going to the school, and life is all like pink and
All good.
beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so the American dream is an ideology that is being sold, especially during the Cold War. Okay, the rest of the world were looking at the US because they appear to be very happy and successful and very rich.
And
Okay,
everyone immigrating to the US is going there in order to get and live the American dream. That's the main aim.
yes, and you see a lot of refugees, immigrants. They go to the US, they come to the US. Okay, the Latinos, the Asians, the Arabs, okay, they all go to the US, okay, to achieve the American dream. Because they believe anyone who goes to the US, work really hard, can get the American dream, which is a good life. Okay? And this is what is being shown in the films, in television, in what you see. Okay? What is the American life? They're always happy. Okay, most of the time they are very rich and powerful. Okay? So far understand or not? So the media tells us America has the benchmark that we must all follow. Okay? So this is, okay, we can differentiate, okay, economic, sorry, hello, 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 yeah, yes, yes, uh-uh, uh-uh.
Sorry, madam, you mute your
Okay,
microphone.
sorry, okay, I also disconnected myself just now. Let me go back. Okay, right? So you can have economic or political hegemony, that means the control of America over certain countries, okay, certain economy. Okay, you can see this especially in the Arab countries. Okay, today there are 5 Arab countries that has established diplomatic relationship with Israel. Right?
Yes.
You have Saudi,
UAE,
UAE,
Bahrain,
Jordan, Bahrain, okay, and then now there's Morocco. Now
Sudan also.
Oh, is it? Okay, so
Yes.
all of these Arab countries, okay, Arabs are supposed to be the representatives of Muslims and Islam and helping their Palestinians, what we call it, relatives or things like that. But we see them, okay, establishing diplomatic relationship. Why? Because there is political hegemony, because the Americans are controlling the, what we call it, the Arab politicians and Arab leaders. Okay, so this is the idea of hegemony. Means what? You don't see the Americans army, Americans military, okay, in the Arab states. But you can see that the Arab states' decisions are being controlled. This is what we mean by hegemony. Okay, control that we cannot see, we cannot physically say that it's there, but it is there. All right, and this is sad. Okay, so these are the results of imperialism. Okay, it is not just about wearing clothes or eating food that is not ours. Okay, it is slowly changing our ideas, changing our values. Okay, that later on, probably also in Malaysia or Indonesia, we might start having relationship with Israel because we slowly feel, oh, there's a disconnection, okay, between Israel, okay, and what we call it, everyday life. Is this connection between Israel and politics. Can you get what I'm trying to say or not? Okay.
Yes, madam.
So here, okay, we've discussed this before, but this is actually an old, what we call this, an old data, but I think it is still very much relevant. Okay, the fries that bind us. Isn't it true? The fries that bind us. Okay. We may have different preferences. Some people would like to say that KFC's fries is better than McDonald's, or Burger King has the worst fries. But whatever it is, we all eat the French fries and we all love it. Okay? But the result of this cultural imperialism, the result of us preferring to go for McDonald's, okay, over our local food, is this. Is that you have this American giant company all over the world. Okay? And what also, okay, that they make more money, these corporations, okay, McDonald's, Disney, they make more money than governments. I'm pretty sure McDonald's makes so much money than Malaysia, than our GDP. Okay? So what does that mean if they make more money than us? Are they more powerful than us? Yes. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? That there is this relationship okay, between cultural imperialism and bigger issues, political and economic hegemony. Okay, so you see all of these logos. All of us know this logo. McDonald's, Burger King, okay, Wendy is not so popular in Malaysia. Okay, KFC, this is Colonel Sanders. Okay, you are so rude, you eat his chicken, you don't know who he is. Okay? Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, okay, we don't have Taco Bell in Malaysia, and Starbucks. So all of these images, you can see all over the world. Right? This is what McDonald's restaurants by country. Okay? So here in Malaysia, look, you can't even find us anymore because we've already been covered by McDonald's here. Okay? So we talked about China being independent. But I think China also today is very much affected by globalization. Okay? The Chinese nowadays prefer McDonald's and KFC. Okay, but in China and in certain countries, okay, McDonald's is not as successful. Okay, in certain countries in China, actually in China, KFC is more popular than McDonald's. Okay, I don't know why that is, okay, but that is the fact. Okay, so you have big countries in China. So you imagine China with its 1.6 billion population. If all of them are familiar with McDonald's, okay, how much money will McDonald's make? And how strong McDonald's and the American economy will become. Okay? Okay, so here is your McDonald's and here is your local Ramly burger. Okay? But which one do you always have more? Okay? Which one are you willing to pay for? Most of the time this one. Okay? But why do we sometimes, it's not that we do know that Ramly burger tastes so much better. But why do we go for McDonald's? Because it is easy, because it's always somewhere. Isn't it, right? And it offers you drinks, it offers you many things that this burger, this company cannot offer. It is not just about the taste, it is about the ability of them being bigger and more powerful. Okay? So here, let me make this smaller. Okay. According to Gallender, okay, there's a book that you can refer to. I've already shared with you the documents. Okay. When we talk about cultural imperialism, okay, before a particular culture is imperialized, they go through several phases, stages, levels. Okay. First, okay, is the stage of desensitization. Okay. As international audiences are persistently exposed to social and cultural situations that contradict their own beliefs and value systems, they gradually shed their inhibition and accept the culturally unacceptable. Culturally desensitized. Now, maybe if you offer pizza to your grandmother, okay, or some elderly, do they like it? They usually would not like it, isn't it, right? Okay, they say, what is this you are eating? Okay, they cannot accept. Yeah? And sometimes when people cannot accept new things, we call them old-fashioned. Alright? But why is it, okay, that your grandparents find pizza unacceptable, but you can easily accept it? Okay? To them, probably, it tastes weird, alright? Okay, it's not the normal food you eat. Cheese is not something we have here in Malaysia every day. Okay, and it's quite expensive. Okay, but to young people, why? Because we have become desensitized. What do we mean by desensitized? We are no longer sensitive. We don't care. Your grandparents probably refuses to eat pizza because they will say, hey, this is not our food, this is Western food, I don't like it. But young people who grew up watching pizzas on American film, on advertisements, in shops nearby, okay, they are no longer sensitive. Can you understand what we mean by desensitization?
Yes.
Okay. We can talk about simple things as pizza, or we can talk about even bigger things like homosexuality.
Yeah.
Right? So this is really haram. Okay? But to most of us today, we know it is haram, but you leave it as that.
It's not annoying to some that much when they see it.
We don't feel disgusted. We don't
Yes.
hear it. You know, probably, okay, in the old days, probably I am assuming in the 50s or in the 60s, okay, if you see images, okay, of homosexuality on television or on radio, it will become a big issue. Right? Okay, that probably in Malaysia, for example, they will screen it out, cannot allow at all into the country. Okay, and that when people see it, okay, they feel something in their heart. Okay, and probably they will switch off the television. But I am asking you now, that when you see homosexuality acts or images or in songs, what do? Do you switch off? You don't do anything, right? You continue to watch. You continue to listen. So what is happening really? You no longer feel anything. I am not saying that you accept, okay? But I am just saying you have been desensitized. You don't feel anything. Okay? So what happens when you feel desensitized? You no longer see it as a problem. And now that you are desensitized, it becomes easier to accept. Can you follow cultural desensitization? Because all of us, we have our own values, our own culture, our own beliefs. Okay? And in order to change those culture and beliefs, okay, we need to be desensitized. Okay, the same thing, okay? Brothers watching all those sexy girls on magazine, on the video or music videos. Okay? What do? Alif, do you close your eyes when you see sexy girls on YouTube? Maybe you didn't search for it, okay? But it's there. Imanuddin, do you switch off? When you see sexy girls, haram, you know? Okay? That is why I think one of the reasons why nowadays our brothers and boys, it's harder for them to pass exam. Because they've seen so many bad things. Okay? Alright, but point is what? Okay, it's not just you brothers, okay, even sisters when they see things like this. Okay? We no longer feel anything. It does not mean that when you watch it, you will become it. But when you watch it, you don't feel anything. And you don't even feel that it is wrong. Okay. When you don't feel that it is wrong, sooner or later, you will accept. Okay. So after we have been desensitized, okay, it's gradually shedding our inhibition, okay, and accept what is used to be culturally unacceptable. Okay, culturally unacceptable. What was culturally unacceptable? Okay, homosexuality, wearing sexy things, you know, using curse words. Okay, but nowadays even children are cursing when they're speaking because that's what they see in the media. Okay, so you, after desensitized, you would usually be hybrids. So hybridization refers to the integration of the local and the global in reality construction and is defined as a process and a product of symbolic practices. Okay? Now, you're a Muslim, but you're a global Muslim. Okay? So you have become a hybrid. You take some of the Western cultures, you take your own, and then you combine. Can you understand or not? So you see, for example, okay? Oh God, hold on. Oh my God, sorry kids. That is an example of what not to do in class. Huh? Don't play with your phone or answer your phone during class, okay? Okay, so where were we? Alright, okay. You cannot, I can. So here, hybridization, okay? So we mixed, okay, our culture and our beliefs. Okay? What can and cannot becomes mixed. Okay, I cannot become homosexual, but I can accept homosexuality. Okay? And then I know the younger generations sometimes, okay, they're not homosexuals, but they practice the ideas. You know, you have a girl on a girl crush. Okay? To some people, it is, it's just nothing. Okay? But this is what we mean by desensitization and hybridization. Okay? I don't know boy on boy crush. Do you have it? I know girl on girl crush, they have it. Okay? So this is what we mean by hybrids. Okay? Like what we eat are now becoming hybrids. You eat rice with salad and salmon. Okay? Hybrids. But of course, okay, I need also to remind you that being hybrids, okay, or it's not always bad. Okay? Cultural influence is not always bad. Okay? It becomes bad, okay, when we lose our own identity. And especially as Muslims, where everything is black and white, halal or haram. But hybridization always puts us in the gray area. Okay, hybrid what? The ustaz, but the ustaz likes to sing and watch YouTube. Okay, this is all the ideas that are becoming mixed up. Okay, and then we become homogenized. First, we become insensitive of our own culture. Oh, I've not shared the slide, sorry. Here, first we become desensitized. Alright? And then we become hybrids. Hybrids means what? We still mix. Okay? But at the end, cultural imperialism happens when we become homogenized. Homogenized means what? That all of us just becomes the same. Okay? The complete shedding of the values of one culture and adoption of the values of the dominant culture. It is a state of total surrender to the invading culture, the ultimate Western cultural takeover. Okay, you see here, there was at one time, right, controversies. Okay, do I see you girls in here? Okay, luckily not you girls, in this big photo. So what image of this, okay, of K-pop fans, Malay K-pop fans, okay, being hugged, being embraced by their K-pop idol. Okay, so here, like we said, okay, it's an idea of homogeneity. Yes, they still have their tudung, they still have the Malay name, okay, but their values have changed. Can you understand what I am trying to say? This is homogenization. The problem is then we all become the same, but when we become the same, we adopt culture that is not ours. And actually, this is not a Korean culture too. The Korean also used to be very traditional, right? Very traditional, very modest. But in the attempt to become more developed, okay, they have become very westernized. Okay, and you can see homogeneity when we talk about Korean drama and Korean film. Yes, they do show you some of their culture, like what they eat or how they speak. Okay, but what they portray, for example, in terms of romantic relationship, okay, it's just the same as how the Western ideas. Okay, can you see the step by step here? First, you become insensitive. All right, cultural desensitization. Like me, when I see a K-pop band, I say, oh my god, why look like that? Okay, tak handsome lah. But when my daughter see it, automatically handsome. Alright? Well, because there is a different exposure. Young people's exposure to K-pop is different from old people like me. Okay? And then because young people today are always consumed with so many media content, they become easily acceptable. Okay? And then become hybrids. Okay, how are we hybrids? Okay, what we eat nowadays, okay, Korean fashion, Korean food, and then so many are now able to speak Korean by just watching Korean drama. Okay? The problem becomes when we all become just the same, homogenized. Okay? Alright. So we can see this in our media content. Okay, for example, on television, you have imported program, right? Imported programs means it's totally not ours, foreign programs. And then you have local programs produced by local productions featuring local faces. But if we were to really consider that most of the time, programs that we see are not really local, although they feature local people. They are what we call as localized or globalized. Okay, this is what? This is hybrids. Okay, Malaysian Idol combined. Okay, and what else? But when you see the content, actually Malaysian Idol, American Idol, Indian Idol, Arab Idol, they are all just the same. Homogeneous. What do I mean by the same? Yes, they feature different faces, they use different language. But it's all about what? Singing and dancing. Okay, and the same idea. That people want fame. People want popularity. People want attention. Okay? Now, local products. Okay, what happens then when local, what we call it, media produced content? Usually, it's no longer local because it has been influenced, okay, by other factors, right? Like this one. Okay, Malay dramas. Now, you watch Malay dramas. I know you watch it, but you don't admit it. Okay, so this was also probably old examples, but I like the examples because the titles are so very catchy. Okay, so here you look at these images and these posters. Okay, where is the local part?
Only
Right.
the name of the series or the drama is in Malay. That's
Okay,
the only
probably
related
the
thing.
language. Yeah, but even the language, for example, suami, okay? Randa, you know what's suami?
No.
Suami is husband. Okay? Suami is husband. Alright, so you want to find any local Malay boys? Okay? Your suami. Okay? But point here, okay, you can see ideas of hybrids, okay? Because in the Malay Muslim cultures, we are still quite conservative, okay? We still argue when dramas or films feature couples that are not married doing very bad things, okay? We don't accept that. But it's okay if it's suami. Okay, so they can act out as long as it's a husband and wife. So the husband is what here? The husband is perfect 10. The husband, suamiku paling sweet. Okay, suamiku encik sotong. Okay, what is sotong, Rega? Sotong is sweet. You know sweet,
Yeah.
like octopus.
Yeah.
What does it mean here? So this is a drama about her husband who's really kind of very feminine. Okay,
Oh,
the
okay.
husband is feminine. Okay, so here what I'm trying to say is the image that you see, right? Okay, is very not traditionally our culture. Okay, you see them in relationships, okay, but the way they portray the relationship, okay, is quite not what we call as traditional lah. But of course today, traditional is a word that is sometimes seen as negatively, right? It's like the old ways. Okay. Then we have, for example, right, in Malay dramas, they don't call themselves what we call it, Aminah or Fatimah. They're usually what? Ariana Rose. This is a Malay drama that feature, okay, where the protagonist name is Ariana Rose. So you can see the Malays today naming their children with hybrid names. Did we have any hybrid names here? Okay, which is not necessarily wrong. Okay, you can become Sharifah Rachel. Okay, you can become Jennifer Amina. It's really up to you. Or you can name your children that. Okay, but it's not as long as the implication, okay, that you don't bring up your children like the Jennifer. Okay, so you have here istiharah cinta. This one very good lah. Okay, before they cinta, they istiharah first. But when they istiharah, this is what happened lah. Okay, so the image here does not really portray a Muslim or an Islamic, okay, content. But of course, today when we talk about media content, it's really hard to be Islamic. Okay, because we can have Malaysia who can be considered somewhat Islamically conservative, okay, but you have them, okay, viewers liking this kind of content. Okay, that in Malay dramas, they always share the life of the rich. Okay, and the rich always dress like this. Okay, of course now there are more awareness. You have Islamic content that show that rich people can be pious also. Okay, that rich people can be Islamic as well, right?
Yes.
So here is just some examples of how cultural imperialism is very much evident even when we watch our own local programs. Okay. But like I've mentioned before, sometimes globalization via cultural imperialism also leads to economic and political imperialism. Okay. We cannot deny the fact, okay, that all of these big American companies, okay, they pay a lot of taxes, contribute a lot to the American economy. Okay, and with this money, with these funds, the Americans have sometimes been doing things that are not so good, isn't it, right? You cannot deny that there is this relationship. Okay, so that's why today, most of the time, you will hear the word sustainable, right? Okay, sustainable means, okay, that we have a future that is what we call it, that our future generation will have what we have today. Okay, so when we talk about media or when we talk about technology, we talk about freedom, for example. Okay, if today we are already very much dependent on American media, do you think in the future, okay, that your children or the coming generation will have the freedom, okay, will have the ability to have their own culture, to appreciate their own culture, or create content or compete with the Western cultures. Okay, if you see it now, probably not. Why? Because the things that we are living in today is not sustainable. Okay, will it be sustainable for Ramly Burger in 30 years? Okay, if we look at the logic today, probably not. Because even today, they cannot compete with the, what we call it, franchise, right? KFC, what we call it, other things like. Okay. So that is why today I think there is this, a blessing in disguise with this pandemic that we have, that most countries are now looking more inwards. That they want to be sustainable. All right? You imagine, right, this year has been such a challenge. Okay, there is no import-export, is becoming very difficult. You cannot travel, we cannot bring imported goods. Okay, now then people realize that you cannot be too dependent on others, not just the Westerners, on other parties or institutions. We got to be sustainable. Okay, so that's why today they say, why? Support local businesses. Okay, if you want to buy what we call it, your hijab or your jeans or your denim or your shirt or your shoes, buy from a local product. Why support local business? Because you're really supporting your own economy. And then you are allowing, okay, your own economy, own people to become more creative. Okay, so that's why, okay, when you start to support local, and then you will be able, okay, to, then the local products would be able to compete with these bigger businesses. Okay, can you follow? This is what we mean by sustainable, because you need a sustainable future. Why is it young generations today, like your generation, finding it hard to find work? Your generation, right? Especially your generation, you are the most educated. Means what? Everybody goes to the university. But you are the most underemployed. Okay? Why? Because there's no sustainability in the economy. Okay? Because big corporations, when they come, they bring with them also what? Sometimes they bring their own expertise. And then locals only become workers. Okay? And now with new technology, sometimes technology is not sustainable. Why? Because in the future, they need machines, they don't need human resource. Okay, because most of you also are losing work to machines. So that is what we mean as not sustainable. So all of this that we are studying today to show you that even cultural imperialism, okay, can be dangerous because it takes away our independence. And that hegemony is very dangerous because it blinds us. We no longer become aware or we don't care. Okay, when we eat foreign food, when we eat McDonald's, we don't feel anything, we have become desensitized. We don't realize, okay, that what is the other implication when you support a big franchise over a local business. Okay, can you follow so far? All right. So this is how you should be able to apply theories that you learn in class. Because later on, even until today, I think younger people are starting to say there's no need to go to universities, for example, right? Or you don't learn, all you learn is theories. Okay? People who claim that they don't learn anything in the university, that they cannot apply what they learn in the workplace is because they did not learn. Okay? What we learn today, if you look at it, it looks very theoretical. Okay, cultural imperialism lah, hegemony. But these are just terms to explain real life situations. Okay, so the smart ones are the ones who are able to understand, okay, and apply in your everyday life. Okay, so what sets you apart as a media and communication students? Okay, maybe some of you are not really media comm, but generally most of you are. Okay, so what sets you apart is your knowledge, your deeper knowledge. Okay, your ability to produce film, produce video, yes, but today most people can do that, isn't it, right? But not many people are literate and informed. Okay, so how can we deal with cultural imperialism? Can we control cultural imperialism? Okay, yes, some countries are trying to do that. They have laws, they have guidelines. Okay, young people usually criticize, okay, their governments for having a strict media law because we would always want media freedom. Okay, but of course sometimes governments misuse media laws, okay, to their benefit. But actually there is a need for media law to protect local culture and local economy. Can you understand? What are laws? Okay, in Malaysia we used to have very strict laws. Okay, cannot have sexual content, cannot have homosexual content, songs must only have good messages. But now we are loosening that law. Okay, so this is an example here I want to show you. You all know Awi and Amy Search. You know or not these people? For the locals lah. It's
No.
really sad, you know, because you know as the year passes by, the younger students no longer know all these examples that I want to share. Okay, I think in 3 years, if I ask Awi and Amy Search, you don't know because they are not level grandfather to you maybe. Okay, so for our international friends, okay, in this news article here, rockers menangis rambut dipotong menteri. What does it mean? You know, at one time in the 90s in Malaysia, when there was this hype over rock music, you know rock music, I think our international friends would know. Rock music, okay, what are rock bands? Because rock bands today are quite different from rock bands in the old days, okay? Rock bands in the old days, they really want to look hardcore, long hair, they look like drug addicts, they wear ripped or leather jeans, leather pants. Okay, I think you can get the image, right? Of a rock
Yes.
star. Okay, so in the 90s in Malaysia, the government wanted to protect our culture because they feel rockers' culture that comes from the Westerners are bad and is usually associated with drugs, okay, rock lifestyle. And at one point in Malaysia, you know, the singers, the male singers, the rockers cannot have long hair. This might sound petty, right? And it's just hair. Okay? They cannot have long hair. So it became somewhat of as guidelines that if you want to sell album, you want to be on national TV, men must have short hair. But today, if we talk about this kind of law, you say, oh, that's against human rights. Okay? But this is of course in the old days lah, okay, Amy Search and Awi in the old days. You know what happened when the minister actually cut their hair? They cried, okay? They cried on TV. Okay, because it was not easy. But what is my point here? My point is, okay, sometimes law is necessary. Okay, and in one time in Malaysia also, okay, advertisements must only feature local faces. Because in the 90s, okay, most of the, especially the women-based advertisements will feature models that had mostly Western features, you know. So the government say, okay, if you want to sell your product, okay, you must make an advertisement that feature local faces. What is it? It's like I said, it sounds very petty, very, you know, small issue, but it is also trying to protect local culture. So at least local women, when they see advertisements, they can see faces that are similar to them. Maybe much prettier, but still similar. Okay? So what else can you deal with cultural imperialism? You can have media literacy. What is media literacy? You know literacy, right? You can read, you can write, you can learn. But nowadays, it's important to have media literacy. That means you know how to deal with the media. And you people should be media literate. What is media literate? You know the background. Like we study media and globalization, media ownership, that gives you literacy. Okay? That you are aware what you are watching. That you make conscious decision when you consume the media. Today, most people are media illiterate. What do we mean? Because they don't know. For example, okay, whenever that you will definitely know someone who likes to forward everything. Okay, maybe your mom. Okay, they will forward everything on your WhatsApp group without realizing that you need to check first. Okay, that most things are actually fake. People who cannot differentiate between authentic and fake news are media illiterate. So there needs to be media literacy, especially young children. Because young children today, your generation, you have been using the internet since probably you were 5 or 7. Your brothers and sisters are using internet before they can walk or before they can speak. Okay, so how do you guide them? Okay, a media literate parent will be able to guide their children. Okay, will be able to know how to tell their 2-year-old or 3-year-old what can and cannot be watched, what kind of filters they can put. But a media illiterate parent will just give the children the phone. Can you understand? So you should be the media literate parents. Okay? And then you can have local campaigns lah, support local products. Okay? But here, alright, when we talk about cultural imperialism, the influence of culture, like I said, is not all negative. Because we must understand that audiences are active. Okay? That although we say about desensitization, hybridization, but most of us, okay, we are aware of what is going on. Okay? The audiences, you can think for yourself. When we are living in a postmodern age, we already discussed what postmodernism is. Okay? Then there is hard for us to go against these changes. Right? And then hybrids. Who here is not a hybrid? Okay? Most of us are hybrids. Hybrids in what sense? Maybe biologically, maybe socially. Maybe your mom is a Chinese, your dad is an Indian, your mom is an Arab, your dad is Malay. That's already a hybrid, and you're learning two different cultures. Or maybe you're a Malay who grew up in UK. You cannot speak your language. You learn different culture when you are hybrid. So we cannot run away with these contemporary realities. Okay? So sometimes we got to acknowledge that it is positive. Okay? And then media is polysemic because media gives different meaning to different people. Okay? And media connecting to one another helps us to socialize. And this can create ethnic diversity and cultural tolerance. Okay? So it's not all bad. Okay? Cultural tolerance. We learn about other cultures via the media. Alright, so that is it. Any questions? Okay, no question?
No, madam, it's all clear. Thank you.
No,
Okay.
madam.
I think today is just really putting everything that we have studied through the perspective of cultural imperialism. Okay, just don't forget to submit your assignment. Okay?
Sure.
Alright,
Okay, madam.
Okay, thank you. We end the class with tasbih, kafarah and one us. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Waalaikumsalam. Bye-bye.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.